So let me give us 5 practical ways that the future of our resurrection can shape our lives today. 5 practical ways that the future can shape our lives today. Number 1, living with hope instead of fear. You have no reason to be afraid of death. To be afraid of death is the opposite of faith. I don't think we ought to rush out and play in traffic in any kind of way. We should be safe. But we should have this overwhelming hope when facing death. An overwhelming hope when facing difficulty. Regardless of what we're going through, this too shall pass. And it's going to get better. And if the worst thing that our enemies in humanity can do is kill us, brother, bring it on. You don't threaten the martyrs with promotion, right? Let's have hope instead of fear, my friends. Number 2, let's prioritize eternal heavenly things over earthly stuff. Our entire focus is on work and keeping up with the Joneses. I'm sorry if your last name is Jones. Getting the bigger, better, larger, more, whatever. Instead of focusing in on the things that really matter, because all that stuff, the day after you retire, somebody else will do your job, and they will probably do your job better than you. The day after you have been buried in the ground, your children are going to throw out or fight over all of your garbage. And you've spent a life accumulating an 88-inch TV that is going to be sold to somebody on Facebook for $30. Jesus said in Matthew chapter 6, verses 19 and 20, "Do not store up for yourselves treasure on earth where moth and rust destroy and where thieves break in and steal, but store up for yourselves treasure in heaven where neither moth nor rust destroys and where thieves do not break in and steal." Do good for the honor and glory of God, my friends, instead of wasting your time on all the garbage. Number 3, we can endure hardships with an eternal perspective. Cancer diagnosis, some kind of terminal, a cancer diagnosis or a terminal to your spouse or to your child, and having to walk through that pain and suffering that is long-term and goes on 10 times longer than it should from our perspective. What can guide us during that valley of the shadow of death is keeping our eyes on the hope this too shall pass, and heaven and the resurrection is our future. That can be our motivation. That can be our guiding light. That can be the fuel behind us keeping our head up in the weight of all of that pain, my friends. 2 Corinthians chapter 4, verse 17 puts it this way: "For our light and momentary troubles are achieving for us an eternal glory that far outweighs them all." Momentary troubles, light. Number 4, if we believed in the reality of life after death in heaven or in hell, we would take the lost person's rejection of Jesus or ignorance of Jesus far more seriously, my friends. We would be fueled to share the gift of hope and salvation and God's love. We wouldn't have to be manipulated into sharing our faith. We wouldn't have to be living with the guilt of having not shared our faith. 1 Corinthians chapter 15, verse 58 says this, therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourself fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor in the Lord is not vain. Get busy serving the Lord. Get busy sharing the gospel of Jesus Christ and your story with Jesus to others. Because the person you're sharing it with is on the highway to hell. And you alone know the exit to the stairway to heaven. Offer the stairway to heaven to the lost person, my friends. That's putting hands and feet to the reality of resurrection. Let's share our hope, my friends. The hope given to us in Jesus. Number 5, living holy lives in expectation of Jesus' return. Because it's death, then judgment. 1 John chapter 3, verses 2 through 3 says, Beloved, now we are children of God, and it has not appeared as yet what we will be. We know that when he appears, we will be like him, because we will see him just as he is. And everyone who has this hope of resurrection, set on him, Jesus, purifies himself just as he is pure. Let the hope of the resurrection cause you and I to double down on our purity, double down on our innocence, commit ourselves to godliness in action and lifestyle, holiness in speech, holiness and purity in thought, my friends. Let it fuel our godliness, in other words.